Raider Nation, what's going on? Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, we're going to get into all the NFL Combine news and notes that you need to know that happened February 28th. And that also happened today, February 29th. Also, we're going to get into Maxx Crosby's impact in terms of the impact he's making on players entering the draft, and also the impact that he's doing right now for the Las Vegas Raiders, because Antonio Pierce spoke about it. And again, there's a reason why he wears that C on his chest. There's a reason why he's simply built different. So we're going to roll through here. We're going to show you some players that the Raiders have met with, and this is just based on the list of names that my team, Chat Sports, who was at the Combine, has officially told me, like, hey, these guys have met with the Raiders. First name is Bralen Trice, and Trice, man, was one of these dudes that could not stop smiling and talking about how much he loved and respected Maxx Crosby. He really models his game after him and Micah Parsons. Bralen Trice, edge rusher from Washington, probably going to be a top 3-round pick, if you will. I don't know if the silver and black, though, show a lot of interest just because it's not a major need. Let's go to another name here. It's Junior Colson, linebacker from Michigan. And some people have him as the number one linebacker. To me, there are 3 clear-cut, maybe even 4 clear-cut linebackers that go potentially high in the draft. I don't see any linebackers going in round 1, but if you want to get your hands on him, you're probably going to have to take him at pick number 44, which is a little bit too rich for my blood. Let's go to another name here in terms of the Raiders met with at the Combine, Chris Braswell. He's a edge linebacker from Alabama, a really, really good athlete, and a source at the Combine told me that if he was a betting man, the number one linebacker that he thinks that the Raiders would take right now is Braswell, based off of the fact that the Raiders met with him. Also, he was working with the American team at the Senior Bowl where he played pretty well. Rob Leonard, the Raiders linebacker coach, was working with the defensive linemen, edge rushers, and was very impressed by him. Then when Braswell spoke at the Combine, he actually mentioned that he really loved what the Raiders defensive line coach has done. So, some interesting things to at least think about for the Raiders. Next name coming in here is Payton Wilson, 6'4", 238 pounds, captain. I mean, this is like one of the most prototypical linebackers that you would look for in a Patrick Graham system. Like, he does everything very, very well. And the Raiders last year, if you guys remember, Drake Thomas, the UDFA out of NC State. If you like Drake Thomas, this is like the best version of Drake Thomas. He's like Drake Thomas, I don't want to say on steroids, but like, he's like, Drake Thomas is a Honda Civic. Payton Willis is a brand new Lexus. Toyota F-150. But the red flag on Wilson is he does have a lot of injury concerns, which is a big red flag for Tom Telesco. Let's now go to the big boy, Johnny Newton. Some of y'all know him as Jerzon. He has indicated to everybody that he wants to now go by Johnny. He is my number 2 defensive tackle. I have Byron Murphy as my number 1 guy. Very solid player. If you take him, you're probably going to have to take him at 13, which might feel like a reach for some people. I really, though, want to see how he ends up doing at the Combine. And as I'm making this video, like, these guys are running 40. They're doing the Combine right now. Remember, linebacker, defensive tackles are doing the drills today. So just keep that in mind. If you haven't already, subscribe for more Combine news that impacts the Raiders. I've been putting out tons of shorts. Yesterday here on the Raiders Report, if you didn't watch, I put out 13 shorts on the Raiders Report of everything that happened at the Combine. What players were saying here, what players were saying here, guys hyping up Antonio Pierce. If you want Combine updates around the Raiders, make sure you're subscribed. Let's go to another name here. The Raiders are planning on meeting with Caleb Williams, and the Raiders are going to meet with quarterbacks. Like, to be honest, you get to meet with a lot of different guys. That's what the Combine is essentially made for. But the fact that the Raiders are showing some interest in Caleb is good news. However, I don't see him having even a chance to fall to... He's going to be the number 1 overall pick from based off what I hear. Another name, though, that met with the Raiders is Jayden Daniels. And when Antonio Pierce spoke about Jayden on, Wednesday, to me, when I watched the video, it reminded me of a dad talking about his kid. Like, when Antonio Pierce spoke about Jayden, you could see how excited, how happy he was, talking about how he's known him since 7th grade when he was 150 pounds soaking wet. Like, there's a different relationship with Jayden, which is why Jayden gave Antonio and Marvin Lewis a shout-out at the Heisman Trophy ceremony. Now, I just talked about Caleb. I just talked about Jayden, and a lot of times when I do this show, I say, like, hey, the Raiders probably got to trade up to number 1 to go get their guy, and I say that because you just never know what's going to happen. The number 1 response that I get to that usually is, well, why don't the Raiders just trade up to number 2, trade up to number 3? Well, to me, the Commanders are 100% taking a quarterback. Cliff Kingsbury, they're going to try to do everything in their power to get Caleb. The spot, though, that had a chance, at least still does have a chance, but according to Jeff Howe, who is probably one of the most well-connected insiders with New England, with the Athletics, said that the Patriots are leaning heavily towards keeping their third pick and taking a quarterback. So if I think the Commanders are taking a QB, and if it sounds like the Patriots are going to keep their pick and take a QB, does that mean the Raiders have to trade up to number 1? What if Chicago says we're keeping the pick 2 and we're going to take a QB? I know we have a lot of conversations around Jayden Daniels. I have been probably the number 1 guy hyping him to Las Vegas. But there is a real possibility that Las Vegas never gets that opportunity to go get their guy. Coming up next here on the show, Maxx Crosby is a role model in many, many different ways, which probably isn't a surprising thing to say out loud to anybody that watches the show, to watches any Raiders game that follows the silver and black the entire offseason. Crosby's a difference maker on and off the field. I'm going to tell you what he's been doing. If you don't know, you need to know. Download the Game Time app, $20 off with code RaidersChat. To me, I want less stress in my life. Who wants less stress in their life? If it's you, raise your hand right now, or you can even click that like button, because to me, taking the guesswork out of getting tickets is a really, really awesome thing. Like when I want to go to an event, if I want to just spend some time with my friends, family, my loved ones, I don't want to have to worry about anything. And the reason why I love Game Time is because you can snag tickets without the stress. Buying tickets to your favorite event, it shouldn't be stressful. So when you think about it, you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code RaidersChat for $20 off your first purchase. Game Time gives fans access to last-minute tickets to the most popular events in more than 60 cities across the U.S. and in Canada. You can also get images on your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. With 2-tap buying options, you'll score tickets quickly without the hassle, skip the hassle, and enjoy the moment. Obviously, terms apply, so if you're like, Mitch, how do I get this? Then you haven't been listening. Download the Game Time app, $20 off with code RaidersChat. That link is available to y'all down in the comments and in the description of today's show. Recently, and I don't know if it's going to happen, there's a concert this weekend, and she's a really popular artist here in Dallas. And Alex is obsessed with her. And she goes, babe, can I get tickets to this event? She's, I think she's 21 years old. I can't think of her name. This weekend. Anyway, she's like one of the top artists out there right now. Her tickets are $600. I told Alex that I guarantee you if she watches them on the Game Time app, that they could potentially go under like $400, $300. Probably Olivia Rodrigo. Yeah, Rodrigo or Rodriguez? Dude, I'm not with the times. Like I'm not in with the times.
Good for you, you look happy and healthy, not me.
I think honestly what I'll do is I'll just get tickets, fake. We'll call it Olivia Rodrigo, and we'll just have you sing, because that was close. Bottom line is, though, if you know, like...
Alex would love that.
Oh, dude, she'd be hyped as all hell.
We're going to see Olivia Rodrigo, and it's just me in a red dress.
With that wig. I'll tell you what, man, that sounds like a good event. Bottom line, concerts, all that good stuff. Shout out to Game Time for sponsoring the Raiders Report. All right, so we're going to get into here to some comments that have been made around Crosby at the NFL Combine. And Darius Robinson, who's probably going to be a top 50 pick, edge rusher from Missouri, he called Maxx Crosby the best defensive lineman in the league right now. And if there was one common thing that we saw time and time again amongst the defensive linemen at the Combine, it was every single guy that plays defense wants the opportunity to play for Antonio Pierce or would love the opportunity to play for AP. The other one was, which they're not dumb, if you play next to Maxx Crosby, that's going to help out your career a lot. But it's not only playing next to him, it's the mindset that Max has. Latu, edge rusher from UCLA, said that he's been looking up to Crosby, and he actually said that he can't look up to him enough. Like, if there's one guy that young players should look up to the most, it's a guy like Crosby. He also said that this offseason he plans on watching film and getting in work with Crosby this offseason. So even the fact that Max would consider doing that, Max probably looks at it as like, shit, I get to go out there and do what I love and probably get to show up a few guys. But also that he takes that time to be a teacher. Like, one of my favorite things that I saw Crosby do last offseason was like literally pull Tyree Wilson aside and helped him on his footwork, helped him on his technique. Good players are good. When you get a player like Crosby that's like literally a sensational talent, arguably the greatest Raider of all time, or trending in that direction, but then also wants to be a teacher. Those are like the generational type of talents. Bralen Trice said that he wants to model his game after Crosby. He also said he would like to model his game after Micah Parsons, would be honored to play for Antonio Pierce. And, per Antonio Pierce is one of the things that he said at the Combine was Crosby and many other Raiders players have been putting in extra work early this offseason. Like, I don't quote me on it exactly, but I'm pretty sure AP was like, yeah, Crosby was at the building today at 6 a.m. Like, I want that, and you could say what you want. I want my guys, first guy there, last guy to leave. Like, I want my leaders, the guy that's wearing the C on his chest, arguably the best defensive player in the NFL. If he's going in there at 6 a.m., if he's doing all this extra stuff, that motivates me because, oh, wait a minute, if I want to get to that level, if I want to make millions of dollars, like that's what I got to do. It's a different type of mindset, and you can already see it. Heck, some of the players that I talked to at Media Row said, dude, I'm telling you right now, it's one of the players literally said it's a breath of fresh air just not having McDaniels there, and the report cards came out. McDaniels was by far the lowest graded head coach, and if it wasn't for that, the Raiders would have finished top 5 in the NFLPA grading system. But when you hear guys saying it's a breath of fresh air, they want to play for AP, they got the right leaders there, Crosby's doing all the right things. Coming up next here is going to be the NFL Combine news and notes that I have for today, February 29th, and today it's a lot more of the DBs, safeties, cornerbacks in that regard. If you're wondering, Mitch, how can I watch the NFL Combine? Luckily for you, if you're wondering when the Combine drills are, Thursday, February 29th, 3 p.m. Eastern time, so it's already going on at the time that I'm recording this video. Defensive line and linebackers go. Friday's your DBs and tight ends. Saturday is going to be a day that I think most people watch just because it's the fantasy football ones. It's the skill position guys plus the quarterbacks. If Raider Nation, the day that I'm watching the closest, offensive line. Like, I want to get some big uglies up there. Pierce said that if there's one thing that he believes Telesco is going to end up doing, or hinted at, I guess I should say, is that they are really going to try to build in the trenches, which is one thing that Telesco has done every single place he has gone. Let's go to some names then today that the Raiders have met with. Javon Bullard, defensive back, safety from Georgia. He also said that he would love the opportunity to play with his friend, his old teammate, Chris Smith II, who the Raiders drafted last year in the 5th round, 170 out of Georgia. Jaden Hicks, probably one of my favorite stories here for the Raiders is Hicks because Hicks grew up a Raider fan and grew up like watching this team, and you could tell when Hicks was talking about the Raiders, he was like talking about it from a different standpoint. Every single player wouldn't mind going to all the teams, but I guarantee you right now, if you ask Hicks, what's the number one place you want to play for? I bet you Las Vegas is up there because when you grew up rooting for a team, it's built a little bit different, and he's from Las Vegas. Let's go to the next name here. It's Terrion Arnold, and I had a scout reach out to me and said, Terrion Arnold's going to be the number 1 cornerback drafted this year. And what's crazy is Arnold was probably like my 5th ranked corner when this whole process began. And then he's gone up, he's gone up, he's gone up. Right now he's my number 2 ranked corner behind Nate Wiggins. Today at the podium, again, based off of the information that I have received, was Arnold was unbelievable. He presented himself great. He's going to test really well. Like, he can do a lot of great things here for the Crimson Tide. And based off the information that I received, there's a lot of people that believe that Terrion Arnold is going to be the number 1 cornerback taken in this year's draft. Let's go to another name here. It's Tyler Nubin, another safety here from Minnesota. Talked about how he thought that his play really matched the way that the Raiders are. Physicality. Did have a meeting with the Raiders. And then we got Brock Bowers, the number 1 tight end in this year's class, met with the silver and black in every NFL team. When you look at the pictures from like the podium, he was by far probably the most popular guy today, I would say, that everyone wanted to talk to. I anticipate that he's a top 10 pick. If he didn't get hurt, I would almost lock it in that he's going to be a top 10 pick. Like, when I think about other tight ends that have gone in the top 10 recently, I'm talking about like Kyle Pitts, even a dude like TJ Hawkinson recently went in the top 10. Brock Bowers, to me, is the most complete tight end prospect that we have seen in a while. And y'all know how much I like Michael Mayer. Bowers I would have ranked higher than Mayer, but the Raiders also with Luke Getsy loved himself a tight end. If he fell to 13, it would probably be best player available. And I know I always say take best player available, but in this situation, I don't know if I'd want the Raiders to go with Bowers at 13. Another name rolling here is Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Kool-Aid was a very common name that popped up earlier this offseason around the Raiders in terms of pick 13. I don't know if he ends up going in round 1, Probably going to be a fringe round 1 player. Could be a guy that the Raiders target, though, at pick number 44. Another name, he's been shooting up the boards. He's my number 3 cornerback, Quinyon Mitchell. And what's wild to me is, and it's just the way that the NFL offseason goes, I had Quinyon Mitchell selected to me in a mock draft in round 3, and I was like, this guy's special. He's a difference maker. I know he went to a small school, but once you see the tape, he was the best player at the Senior Bowl, and now he's going to go in round 1. Like, no doubt about it. Mitchell's going to go in round 1. Very excited to see what his combine numbers end up looking like. So as it stands right now, at the moment that I am making this video, those are all of the players that the Raiders have met with that I have been told, that our chat sports team knows 100%. We've been able to verify based on what we know. Those are the players that the Raiders have met with. I'll do my best this weekend to be able to keep you guys up to date on other players that the Silver and Black meet with. You can follow me on IG. You can follow me on Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. Just be a little patient with me, at least tonight. Tonight's my 4-year anniversary with Alex. We're going to go out for dinner. So if any breaking news happens, just being real, it's probably going to be Chugs that's going to be on it or somebody else here from Chat Sports. But Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I will keep you guys up to date, pumping out a lot of videos around the NFL Combine.